Imagine a world where the political intrigue of a Game of Thrones meets the sibling strife of HBO Succession. Now spread this over an ancient Indian landscape rife with a magic system based on millennia-old concepts of mandalas, chakra, and yoga. This is what you get when you open Sons of Darkness, a grimdark reimagination of an ancient Indian epic poem called the Mahabharata. Hey guys, I'm Gaurav Mohanty, and a big thank you to Will and Ed for giving me the opportunity to connect directly with your readers. The bare bones of Sons of Darkness saw the light after I watched the first season of Game of Thrones and then consumed books 1 to 5 and then discovered, shockingly, that there is no epic Indian fantasy book, leave alone a grimdark fantasy book. And this was an anomaly given that ancient India is the cradle of the genre. In fact, the magic system of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time is completely based on Indian mythology, and so is the concept of Matrix from Keanu Reeves' movie. So building on that Toni Morrison quote which says that if you badly want to read a book which is not written yet, it's your duty to write it, I decided to go out there and play Thanos and reimagine ancient India in a completely grimdark perspective. Because my desire was just not to marinate in the spices and sherbets of my country, but to discover through deliciously dark characters a world built on millennia-old South Asian heritage and history. Be it through the eyes of a master swordswoman who commands an army of castaway girls, or a cross-dressing gender-fluid pirate princess with no conscience filter, or a lowborn archer rebelling against a caste system. I know not who might touch a chord with you, but if by the end of this book, you end up ordering naan and curry for your dinner, my ocean will be complete. Thank you so much for patiently watching this video, and until we meet, namaste.
Hello, my name is Stephen Aryan. I'm the author of The Age of Darkness and The Age of Dread trilogies. My most recent series, The Quest for Heroes duology, started with The Coward and wrapped up with The Warrior. I have a new series starting on July the 11th, and this is The Nightingale and the Falcon trilogy. The first book in the series, The Judas Blossom, is available now. This is set in the 13th century and it focuses on the Mongols expanding their empire across the world. And because it's historical fantasy, there are mixing of real events with stuff that I've completely made up, and some of the characters are based on real people and some of them are purely fictional. The territory of the Mongols was split into 4 main areas, and one of them is called the Ilkhanate, and our story focuses on this area, which covers some countries in today's Middle East. The leader of this area, Hulagu Khan, is trying to expand his territory further west into Iraq, Syria, and even as far as Jerusalem and Egypt. One of the other characters, Kayvon, he's a Persian rebel, the last general in the army without any warriors. So he decides to join and work for Hulagu Khan in the hopes of destroying his empire from within. The third main character is Kokachin. She's the last of her tribe, the rest were killed off, and she's forced to marry Hulagu as one of his many wives, and effectively she's dumped in Persia with nothing to do, no real friends, and so she has to try and find a purpose for herself and find something to do with her life. And the fourth main character is Temujin. He is Hulagu's younger son. He's an enormous disappointment to his father. All of his brothers and sisters have become great warriors or businesswomen, and he seems to be unable to find his place. But then there's something stirring within him, something that could change his life and how everybody sees him and how it changed the world around him as well. So most of the main events in the book are based upon historical fact, but I've moved some things around so that it makes a more cohesive story within this fictional space. There's a little dash of magic, but most of the time there's war, there's politics, there's espionage, there's focus on characters, there's focus on relationships, and that's what it's all about. So book 1 is out now, book 2 will be out July next year, and book 3 will be out July 2025.
Hi, I'm MJ Kuhn. I am the author of Among Thieves. So this is a fantasy heist story that came out in 2021. It follows 6 thieves teaming up to steal a magical artifact, but every member of our heist team is secretly planning to screw over the rest of their crew. I like to call it the most toxic of found families. So this was out in 2021, and the sequel, Thick as Thieves, comes out this July, so July 25th, 2023. It is the conclusion of the tale, so it is a duology, so no more cliffhangers at the end of this one. The tale completes itself, and, you know, we have our old team up to a lot of their old shenanigans and a bunch of new ones. We have a new heist. We have a lot of new relationships, new betrayals, new team ups, and a few new characters. So if you enjoyed Among Thieves, please check out Thick as Thieves. But if you enjoyed books like Six of Crows, Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch, or even like, something that just has more of like a grittier feel, like I've seen these books comped to Arcane, the series on Netflix. If you like any of that stuff, please check it out. And I hope that you love it and enjoy the crazy adventures that my team of lovable douchebags get up to in these books. So thank you so much to the Brothers Gwynne for inviting me to come on and chat about them. And again, check it out. The Tales of Timor duology, this one out now, this one out July 25th.
Hello, Brothers Gwynne and all your wonderful watchers. I'm RJ Barker and I'm here to talk to you about my new novel, Gods of the Wyrdwood. This is the big chunky hardback that you only get in the UK. In the US you get the paperback. I'm not sure why you don't get a hardback. Maybe you've upset Orbit. Might be embarrassing, don't want to talk, I don't know. I don't really know about stuff like that. But anyway, I'm in a tree to celebrate the treeness of this book. It's very big, as you can see. If you get plenty of value per page for your pennies or cents if you're in the US. What's it about? Well, 600 pages. But it's about a man called Kahan, who was literally the classic fantasy chosen one, the farm boy taken away to change the world. And then it turned out to be someone else. And we join him sort of 30 years later. He's not a happy camper. He's trying to keep out of everyone's way because you don't really want ex-chosen ones hanging around. But fate has other ideas, and as does the eponymous Wyrdwood, which is kind of like a wood beyond imagining. Just the hugest forest. It can take you days to walk around the trees in it. They're so big, and it's full of tentacles and just oddness. It's probably my oddest and darkest book. Yeah, and it's had fantastic reviews, which obviously I'm very pleased about. Orbit are as well. And it's kind of Robin Hood-y. It's got that sort of vibe. If there was tentacles in Robin Hood, which there isn't, so maybe it's not Robin Hood at all. It's very woody, and it is quite weird. But anyway, if you read it, I hope you enjoy it, and let me know. I might even send you a bookmark, because I'm just quite generous. Bye-bye.
Hello, Ed and Will. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about The Prophet of Edan, Book 2 of the Edan trilogy, which picks up right where The Way of Edan leaves off, with the War of the Way, a holy war fought for the soul of Jormungand. And our protagonists are faced with having to sacrifice all that they hold dear in order to preserve it. The Prophet of Edan continues with the themes that are set up in The Way of Edan, including sacrifice, love, connection, transcendence, and so much more. Plus, there are dragons.
Hey, my name is H.M. Long, Hannah Long, and I write epic fantasy for Titan Books. My first series is a Norse-inspired epic fantasy. It's wrapping up in January 2024 with Book 4, but it began in 2021 with Hollow Smoke, followed by Temple of No God, and then Bearer of Winter. This series follows warrior priestess protagonists in a world of clashing clans and warring gods. It's heavily mythological and very atmospheric with cinematic action. The final book, Pillar of Ash, will close off the quartet, and I think it will stay a quartet. We'll see. Darkwater Daughter opens my second series. As of recording this video, it's coming out next week. Darkwater Daughter is like a flintlock gunpowder fantasy. There's pirates, there's disgraced naval officers, and there's weather witches. And the world is like warring fleets, winter seas. It's Pirates of the Caribbean, but make it winter. This book is coming out or came out on July 11th in the UK and July 18th in North America. It'll also be hitting Australia and New Zealand in September. Darkwater Daughter is the first in a series, the Winter Sea series. I don't know how long it's going to be yet, but there is a sequel coming out next summer in July. I also have many, many more books to come. I can't talk about any of them, but I'm very excited to share them with the world someday. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time. Thank you so much to the Gwynne brothers for letting me on here. And if you're a fan of epic fantasy with female protagonists, cinematic action, really atmospheric and original settings, check these out. You can also find me on pretty much every social media platform at HM Long Books.
Hello, I'm Alexander Darwin, and I wrote this book, The Combat Codes. It's a science fantasy that takes place in a world where wars have been replaced with single unarmed combat between champions that are elected by their nation. And the story follows two primary POVs. One is a older, grizzled ex-fighter, and he drinks far too much. His name is Murray Pearson. And our second POV is a teenage boy named Seago, who is a bit of a fighting prodigy with a mysterious path. And the book does follow the lone wolf and cub trope, which I'm a big fan of when these two characters intersect. We also find ourselves in a combat academy. I am a martial artist. I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a big fan of mixed martial arts, so that does play heavily in this book. I treat martial arts a bit like a magic system, where you don't have to be a martial arts fan to enjoy this book, enjoy the action in it. You will learn a lot of the terminology just like you would learn a magic system. And the reason I call it science fantasy is there are elements literally within the book, such as the rings that the fighters compete in, that influence them based on the type of elements. So a certain type of ring might make the fighters angry or vengeful, and that might cloud their mind, whereas another type of ring might make the crowd around them, the jeers or the cheers, affect them more heavily. So not only are they fighting an opponent standing across from them with the stakes of their entire nation riding on that match, but also they're fighting themselves and the effect of the aura of the element that surrounds them in the ring. So if you're a fan of the Master Apprentice, Lone Wolf and Cub trope that you'd find in The Mandalorian or The Witcher or The Last of Us, I think you'll definitely enjoy this book. Also, if you're a fan of the academy setting, the combat school setting that you'd find in books like Red Rising or Blood Song, or even Jade City has a bit of an academy setting in that, as well as martial arts, I think you would enjoy the Combat Codes. And thank you to the Brothers Gwynne for having me on the channel, and I hope you guys enjoy this book if you pick it up.
Hi, I'm Dave Ragg, the author of The Black Hawks and The Righteous, and I'm here to talk to you about a new trilogy, Tales of the Plains. It starts with The Hunters, out this month from Harper Voyager. That's the 20th of July. It's a new trilogy set in the same world as the first series, and it's about 13 years after the end of The Righteous. It's a western set in the wild, untamed frontier lands of the Saracen Protectorate, and it features a woman called Ree, who's led a long and interesting life and is looking to settle down and live quietly, and her 12-year-old niece Giovanni, who is looking to make her life considerably more interesting. Needless to say, she does get her wish, but probably not quite in the manner that she'd hoped. It's a book about family and relationships, about secret histories and hidden pasts, and that hazy line between stories and lies. But mostly it's about explosions, crossbows, thrilling chases, deadly duels, and outrageous stunt work. In my opinion, it's a lot of fun. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll gasp, you'll titter. And there's no need to have read the original series, but if you have, you might find a couple of little Easter eggs along the way to reward you. So, that is The Hunters, out on the 20th of July, 2023, in hardback, ebook, and audio. If you're a fan of crossbows, swearing, and explosions, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for having me. Bye!
Hi, my name is Bethany. I write under B.S.H. Garcia. My debut novel of Thieves and Shadows just came out this June. It is the first book in the epic fantasy series, The Heart of Quinaria. It is set in a secondary world that relies on a finite resource called Nevethium. This resource gives life to the land and therefore life to all of the inhabitants. And at the beginning of the book, it is nearing depletion. The nations that surround the continent of Quinaria have been at peace for hundreds of years, but due to the pending doom of the vanishing resource, there are rumors of war circulating. In standard epic fantasy style, it follows a big cast. We have 6 POVs. They're a diverse group, some of them morally gray. They come from varying backgrounds and beliefs. And although they are all drawn together for a singular mission or missions, their varying motivations put them at odds with each other, some of them more so than others. The story is action-packed. It's fast-paced. It's got a lot of really neat quests in there, but it definitely has some dark moments, and this is just foreshadowing for where I ultimately plan for this series to go, taking a gradual nosedive into grimdark territory. A lot of early feedback and recent feedback for the story praises the world building, and I think what sets it apart is the fact that it kind of deviates from all of your standard medieval tropes. Not that there's anything wrong with those. I'm clearly a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I love all those stories that made the genre what it is. But as a reader and a writer, I wanted to bring something new to the table and draw from other cultures and other histories around the world to create a livable, breathable world. So while I don't have kings and Tolkien-style elves and dragons, I've come up with some what I think are pretty unique and cool alternatives, such as feline races, some other new mythological beasts and gods, and all new hierarchies and political systems. If you are unsure about taking the dive into Quinaria, I do have a prequel novelette. This is the paperback version, but you can get the ebook for free on my website by subscribing to my newsletter. So if you want to just dip your toe into the water and kind of check out the world and my writing style, I do recommend that. It's standalone, so it can be read either before or after the main series installment. Thank you to the Brothers Gwynne for giving me this opportunity to awkwardly ramble about my books. And thank you, viewing, for giving my books consideration. Happy reading.